Welcome to ATL Antonio Hamilton. The Falcons have signed a veteran cornerback that I think is going to compete for a starting job on this team. So we're going to get you guys familiar with Hamilton, kind of get you up to speed on his background, his stats, all that good stuff. And I'll interject with my opinion throughout the show on this signing. But first, let's get to know Mr. Hamilton, the former UDFA who started his career off with the Raiders after playing at South Carolina State. He has been with the Arizona Cardinals for the last 3 seasons. He has started 18 games in his career. 16 of those 18 came with the Cardinals over the last 3 years. So primarily, he has been a backup corner / special teamer. But now he comes to Atlanta where there is some competition to be said for that CB2 job opposite of A.J. Terrell. So I think you're going to see a good battle between Hamilton, Clark Phillips, D. Alford's a nickel corner still in my eyes, and maybe a rookie. And those 3 guys in training camp are going to be competing for that CB2 role. Now, Hamilton's definitely more of a veteran player. He turned 31 years old in January, so he's got some miles on him, but he also comes with loads of experience, and I think that's something that Raheem Morris is looking for to fill out his secondary with a DC like Jimmy Lake, who has a specialty and a master's degree in defensive backs. Now, before we look at Hamilton's stats and highlights, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're the #1 Falcons news, rumors, YouTube channel on the globe. And help us reach 21,000 subscribers. And in return, we'll give you free daily content. If you don't like the content, I shouldn't say this, but you can always just unsubscribe. Now, Hamilton, the last 3 years, has been with the Cardinals. Before that, he was with the Kansas City Chiefs, if memory serves correctly, in 2020. Before that, the Giants, and before that, the Raiders. But you can see the last 2 seasons with Arizona, primarily an available guy outside of missing time in 2022. He really hasn't missed a whole lot of games due to injury over that stretch. 16 pass breakups, 2 interceptions over the last 2 years. A pretty solid tackler as well from what I've read. But for now, I think he'll be competing with Clark Phillips for that CB2 job. I think it's a little early to say which one is going to be the starter. This is what training camp is for. When you've got training camp battles and position battles to be had, this is what the month of August is all about. So for now, I lean towards Clark Phillips staying as this team's starting CB2. He ended the year last year in that role, taking over from Jeff Okudah. However, you got to think about the decision makers from last season. They're gone. Ryan Nielsen, Arthur Smith, right? Those 2 guys that had a big voice in deciding who would be starting opposite of Terrell are no longer in Atlanta. So no one can really say how Raheem Morris and Jimmy Lake view Clark Phillips. They didn't draft that guy. Terry Fontenot was a part of that draft, but it's always difficult to really know just how much of a voice Fontenot has in some of these decisions because as a GM, he never really strikes me as a GM who has a lot of decision-making powers. Sorry, Raheem or Terry. But grade the Falcons defense for me. A, B, C, D, or F with a couple of signings on the defensive side of the football over the last 72 hours. How would you grade Atlanta's defense? Give it an A, B, C, D, or F. Personally, I would give the Falcons defense a B-. I think there are some good spots on this defense, but obviously there is the big, elephant in the room, the pass rusher position. However, I think that with players like A.J. Terrell, Grady Jarrett, David Onyemata, Jesse Bates, how can I not lead off with him? You've got some Pro Bowl, all-pro caliber players. Just those 4 names alone, you sprinkle in a Caden Ellis and Nate Landman and a healthy Troy Anderson, and I think it's deserving of a B to B- grade, but if they had a true #1 edge rusher, they'd be right there towards that B+, A- range in my eyes. Now, before we get on to the rest of today's show and breakdown for the Antonio Hamilton signing, I do want to spend 60 seconds telling you guys about our sponsor today, which is GameTime. If you're trying to go catch a Braves game, a Hawks game, or any other local sporting event in your area, use GameTime first because new users can get $20 off when they download the GameTime app and use code CHATSPORTS. Now, we all hate hidden fees, but with GameTime, you actually can have the option to do all-in prices on the homepage, so you know just how much the tickets are going to cost before you even get to checkout. So download the GameTime app, let them know PD sent you by typing in code CHATSPORTS, and you're going to get $20 off, which I kind of look at as GameTime's going to cover your parking, your first concession run, whatever it may be. Download GameTime today. It's the place to find last-minute seats. Use that code CHAT Sports. If you don't know how to spell Chat Sports, there it is. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. Now, Antonio Hamilton is not the only signing on the defensive side of the football this past week. Eddie Goldman came out of retirement for a third time? I'm kind of losing track, honestly. So there have been some recent signings on the defensive side, and maybe you're noticing a very small pattern, and I don't think two of anything is good enough to make it a pattern just yet, but maybe there's something to be said about Raheem Morris targeting more veteran players, right? I mean, at this stage in free agency, all the big names are gone. Like, we're past the second wave at this point. These are just some of the crumbs that have been left over. So you're not going to find a bunch of really talented young players anymore on the market. And for Atlanta, I think their strategy is, hey, we're going to draft well, we're going to develop well, we're going to coach up some of the younger guys we have on this team, and we're going to lean on the veterans to not put together a top 5 defense, but maybe one of those defenses that, for how much is being invested and paid into that side of the football, is going to outperform expectations, because coaches always love to bet on themselves, right? Coaches always love to believe that they can take a player from here and make them all the way up to here and only pay them down here. That's what coaches love to do and bet on. So I'm kind of getting the suspicion that's what Raheem Morris and company's train of thought is right now for their plan and strategy to get the best defense possible on the field. Draft well, develop well, and get some good last juice out of veteran players like Eddie Goldman, if he even sticks around for week 1, and then Antonio Hamilton. I'll also add, it's another day with no edge rusher. We are not going to stop. We are going to peer pressure the Atlanta Falcons to adding an edge rusher sooner rather than later, hopefully. That's my preference, but it is another day of no edge rusher signing, so just add it to the tally. Now, like I said, if they do want to wait to the draft to satisfy this final need on the Falcons defense, there are some good players to be said. I mean, you've got guys like Jared Verse, Leatu Latu, and Dallas Turner, who I all expect to go in round 1. Chop Robinson and Darius Robinson, to me, those are fringe round 1, early to mid round 2 guys. So if Atlanta, for whatever reason, doesn't go edge at 8, keep an eye on both the Robinsons for pick 43. Now, with that all being said, which pass rusher do you want to see the Falcons go out and draft? My personal rankings, Dallas Turner, Jared Verse, Leatu Latu, Darius Robinson, Chop Robinson. So let me know who you want to see the Falcons draft. But to wrap up the show, we'll hit the news one more time. Antonio Hamilton, the veteran 31-year-old corner who has been with the Cardinals the last 3 years, will provide some special teams experience. He'll provide a booth on that side of the football, and he'll also compete with Clark Phillips for the starting CB2 job. So make sure to subscribe to the channel, and we will see you all later as we get more Falcons news and rumors.